This time last week, he was still called president-elect. Well, as you and I know, that is now history. Well, the question now is, will Nigeria's history books be kind to President Bola Tinubu? Tonight, Babajide Ogusowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is right here to share insights on the metrics that could be used to judge the new government of President Bola Tinubu. It's great to have you again on News at 10.
Hi. Oh man, I hope you'll be kind to me with time tonight.
Let's hope so. So let's start off very quickly. And of course, more often than not, we hear politicians say that governance is not a sprint, but a marathon. Now, looking at it, is it too early to know how well the government has started, or what metrics should be used to determine the president's performance? Let's start with that.
So it's really not too early. The president has set his own standard, the measure by which he wants to be judged. And even though he still hasn't picked up the gift we presented to him last week,
the Usain Bolt picture.
The Usain Bolt picture, that's still waiting for him to allow me to hang in his room. 1:08 p.m. on Monday, time froze. 1:08 p.m., the president made his biggest economic promise to Nigerians. 1:08 p.m., Ayo, the president set the standard in which he wants to be measured.
He set the ball rolling,
he said
or hit the ground running.
Exactly at 1:08 p.m., he made that promise, 6% annual economic growth rate. And so, just as we did last week, we want the president to keep this clock by his bedside. 1:08 p.m., the time he promised us 6% economic growth rate. Why is this important? In this statement, there's good and there's bad news. 6%, good news, because that is 2 times faster than our present economic growth rate. Good news. But 6%, Ayo, is also bad news. Bad news because it is 2 times slower than our economic growth rate in 2002. So let's take a look at our economic growth history in the Fourth Republic since 1999 to date, to exactly look at how does the president want to be judged and to look at the challenges he faces. Again, what is in front of us? Under President Obasanjo and Atiku, the economy grew by 14.6% in 2002. That was the best economic rate under President Obasanjo and Atiku. Until date, it still remains the fastest we have grown since we returned to democracy in 1999. 14.6%. That record has not been broken. Under President Yar'Adua and Vice President Goodluck Jonathan, the best they achieved as economic growth rate measured by GDP, 9.5%. That was in 2010. And under President Goodluck Jonathan and Vice President Sambo, the best economic growth rate they achieved was in 2014, 7.5%. Between 2015 to date, the fastest economic growth rate President Buhari, former President Buhari, and Vice President Osinbajo achieved 3.4%. In simple terms, if you look at what's in front of you, as we've had new presidents, economic growth, the fastest they've achieved has gotten worse. 14.6% under President Obasanjo, 9.5% under President Yar'Adua, that was his best rate. 7.5% was Goodluck Jonathan's best rate in 2014, and President Buhari's best economic growth rate, 3.4% in 2021. The good news, again, President Tinubu says he wants to double that rate. However, if we look at where we were in 2002, that is still bad news. So it depends on the perspective you look at it. Good news from our current situation, bad news from what we've historically have achieved.
All right, so definitely the President Bola Tinubu is already in office, getting things sorted out as we speak, or we want to believe so. He has a whole lot on his table. But on the day of his inauguration speech, Babajide, what else stood out for you from President Bola Tinubu's inauguration speech? Because some have said, oh, well, the normal things we hear on every inauguration day, and, it really didn't galvanize a whole lot of people. Well, but maybe you have a contrary view.
I'll tell you perhaps one reason why that didn't happen. It's a wise man once said, sometimes how you say it is as important as what you say. And I'll explain this to you. Now, based on the evidence from researchers that are into public speaking and communication, they say the ideal speaking speed should be 150 to 100, between 150 to 180 words per minute. They believe that if you speak at that speed, you'll be able to captivate the audience. You'll be able to keep the attention span of the audience. Please listen carefully to this. The fastest Democracy Day speech of President Buhari, his fastest reading speed across all his Democracy Day speeches was in 2016. In 2016, he read that Democracy Day speech at the speed of 100 words per minute. Don't forget, the global standard, expected standard, 150 to 180 words. President Buhari did 100 words in 2016. His slowest speech, he did it 2021, 88 words per minute. President Tinubu's reading speed in this speech, 68 words per minute. In other words, it was an extremely slow speech. President Tinubu's speech was slower than Buhari's slowest speech, Democracy Day speech. Buhari's, again, I repeat, President Buhari's slowest Democracy Day speech was in 2021. He read that speech at an average of 88 words per minute. In Tinubu's speech, his reading speed was extremely slow, 68 words per minute, compared to that standard that we expect, 150, 180 words per minute. And that's the reason why some people will listen to it. It had a lot of strong points, but a lot of those strong points were lost because his speech was delivered rather slowly.
So, which brings me to the next question again. Now, the president, that's Bola Tinubu, has said he wants to improve the quality of life of Nigerians, as it were. Is there a guaranteed approach in order to achieve this?
Nothing is guaranteed, but there's a fast approach. Let's take a look at where we were and where we are now, and to look at what President Tinubu needs to quickly do to achieve improving the quality of life for Nigerians. And if you take a look at where we were, looking at the quality of life indicators, 2015, minimum wage was 18,000 naira. With that minimum wage and the fuel price of 145 naira in 2015, if you choose to use all your minimum wage in 2015 to buy petrol, you will buy 120 liters. Now, minimum wage is 30,000 naira, but based on today's current rate, even if you choose to use all your minimum wage to buy petrol, you will not get up to 60 liters. In other words, 18,000 naira minimum wage had more value than today's 30,000 naira. Look at the unemployment, another key quality of living indicator. When the government came in, 29.2%. The last figures that we have for unemployment rate in 2019-2020, 56.1%. Based on the records from the National Bureau of Statistics, they say that never in our history, never has we seen a period where unemployment, including underemployment rate, has hit 56.1%. So one of the key priorities of President Tinubu has to be to improve the purchasing power of individuals and to also ensure that unemployment, including underemployment rates, are brought down. Let's look at the out-of-school children indicators. 2015, the World Bank said there were 16 million children out of school in Nigeria. Now the numbers are approximately 21 million children out of school. Health indicator, malaria is the biggest health indicator. Based on the World Bank, so based on the United Nations economic indicators, they say that approximately 54 million Nigerians had malaria in 2015, now 63 million Nigerians. In summary, here's why malaria, the indicator, is so important. Between Monday this week, when President Tinubu gave his inaugural speech, to tonight, where we are hopeful that he's listening, the indicator shows that approximately 3,000 Nigerians have died because of malaria in the first 1 week of President Bola Tinubu. Is that his fault? No, but that is our current running rate. What the president now needs to do is to ensure Nigerians' quality of living goes higher. How does he want to achieve this? Again, what will be his governance model? And if we take a look at the governance model of President Buhari, we'll be able to understand the challenges. First, domestic debt in 2015, when the government came in, 8.3 trillion naira. Our current domestic debt now 22 trillion naira. External debt, when the government came in, $7.3 billion. External debt now more than $37 billion. What about corruption? Based on Transparency International's report, when the government came in, corruption score was 2.6 over 10. Now, Ayo, the corruption score based on Transparency International's last report, they say corruption score is worse than what it was in 2015. The President Tinubu really has his work cut out for him.
Definitely, the president has his work cut out for him. Babajide Gusau, thank you so much again for your thoughts on the news at 10.
The pleasure is all mine.